Hey y'all, it's Alicia and welcome back to Alicia's Crafty Hop. Happy Tuesday morning, y'all. Happy Tuesday morning. I so apologize for our bandwidth issues here in Brooklyn. I had set this to upload all night and it just seems I'm much better off first thing in the morning and before 6 p.m. I can also usually upload after 11 p.m. but for some reason last night in Brooklyn people were staying up late and by like 1:30 in the morning I was like, that's it, I'm heading to bed. But I am really excited to be doing this with you. And I'll tell you why. The best way to show these to you and how magical they are is to actually show you. I've actually filmed this a couple of different ways trying to explain to you why this is my favorite product from Beebeecraft. And I don't know how I lived with this beforehand. Those of us who are a little bit messier as makers are going to find this to be a magical tool. Those of you who are already precise makers are just going to love this because you can be more precise. So I'm going to remind you, this was a set of 60 and 30 ml bottles. And I'm going to remind you, it's an unbelievable set because you get like 7 in this package. 8 in this package, not 7, and 12 different tips. And all of that you get for $6.79. Let me just make sure that's correct. Yes, $6.79. Okay. So already we know it's a bargain because just for these bottles alone, that's a great price. And again, it's the 60 ml and the 30 ml. And I like having both sizes, and I'm going to tell you why as part of this. I have some glues that I use less of, like I don't use them for every project every day. And then I have some like this one, which is my special book making concoction, and I also use it for flower making. It's PVC glue, water, and some of that liquid starch I showed you all. That you need to use quite a bit of. So I needed a larger bottle for that. So I love that it comes in different sizes. That's number one. I'm in love with these 12 tips, and I'm going to be able to show you why I'm so in love with them and why these are now the most important tool I have. I clean them. They clean very well, by the way. They wash up beautifully. And if you don't know how to clean your tips properly, I can connect you to Judy, my scrapbook loft's excellent video on how to keep all your glue tips perfectly clean. And that might be an important thing for you to know if you're going to own something as magical as this kit. Because the very, very fine ones in particular, like the super fine needle ones, like this one, which you're going to see how well this works, these you really want to make sure you're cleaning properly. So far I've tested them all. They've cleaned up beautifully using Miss Judy's method for cleaning, which I use all the time for my glue tips. And I've set up all different types of glues because you see, I'm going to share something with you. I do really like that Helmer's fabric glue. I like it as much as what used to be called Fabric Tack and is now called Beacon 3-in-1. But it is way thicker, y'all. Look how thick that is. It is so thick. It is so thick, it's like hard to even switch from bottle to bottle. It's that thick. And so I wanted to test that one, which is a super hard glue to put through a finer tip, and yet it works with these. I tested it with the Helmer's 450, which for me, I use every day like art glitter glue, and for me it works as well. But it's not as thin as art glitter glue. It's about half the consistency. So it's still a pretty thick glue. It's thicker than, let's say, a Tombow Mono. Then this combination of the book and flower mixture, which is like PVC and it's got like an art glitter glue consistency, maybe a bit runnier even. So that is also important to test. So a runny glue and a super thick chunky glue, like an EC6000 thick. Okay, and then in this one, I have the Helmer's foam glue. And what's interesting about this glue is it works on all different surfaces, but it has the consistency of an art glitter glue. So I wanted to show you all of those because I think it's important for you to know how these tips work with different glues and different thicknesses, right? And it's the only way to really show you. That and showing you on actual projects, as well as showing you on a foam board so you can actually see the amount of glue that comes out. I know it means wasting a foam board, although I'll find a way to use it, don't worry. I'll use the other side, but in order to show you how much comes out. And really, I thought afterwards I should have done a craft with me to do this because I feel like that would have been a really good way to show you. So this is going to be as close to a craft with me as I can get, showing you from everything from very teeny little things to larger spaces and also different materialities so you see how well the glue works. All right, let's start with something easy. A layered butterfly. Typically when I layer up my butterflies, I use my hot glue gun. But I do love 450. I love Helmer's 450. Now, the option you have is if you like this kind of spout, you don't have to use any of these needle tips. So if you think this is the right amount as it pours out, and I'm going to show you what that looks like without a tip. Okay, so that comes out like, so it comes out like that. See, it's like a little stream. Okay. Now, one of the things that Crafting Con Cruz, my friend, didn't like about the glue is that in its original bottle, it bubbled over on her. Didn't happen to me. Doesn't happen too often to me. But Cruz found it happened a lot. Cruz, since I had it in these bottles, I don't ever have it happening. All right, so we saw it puts a nice little stream without even putting a tip in. Isn't that remarkable? So we're already got a winning product. Well, let's say we want to do this butterfly, right? So I want kind of a medium tip. And I don't need like a super long nose because I'm not trying to get in anywhere. So like a medium tip is perfect for me. And I could even use, potentially I could use, they have a nice, there's this really nice one in here that I actually loved for bookmaking. It's a very durable tip. And I'm going to show you that one because I think that's a good one to test the 450 on. Just because the 450, as I said, is an in-between kind of glue. And so it's got a consistency of a lot of the glues that we all use. So I thought, well, why not test that since it's like got the most common consistency. All right, so there we go. We attach it back on. It really only takes 2 seconds to put these together. That's what's remarkable. So I'm going to show you again on the foam what consistency this comes out as. And you're going to see, even with this on, it's so much more precise. So let me show you. So much more precise. Can you see that? Let me see if I can bring it over here. There you go. See, it's so much more precise. Okay, so now let's try it on the butterfly and see how well this works. I do not edit my videos, you know that. I don't do any of that. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect. And it's just as good as using my glue gun. I press it together and boom. Now, I have to say that this glue is fast grabbing. So once I do that, I'm done. I'm done. Again, I don't know how I lived without this tip before, without these different tips beforehand. Now that I have them, you can see I've put all my glue into these bottles. There is no way I'm ever going back. I'm mad crazy about this. And I also love that like they came with these tips to close off the glue, as I said to you, so I don't have to put the pin in. But I don't know how I lived without these. All right, so that worked on the butterfly. Let's try something tougher. And this is going to be hard for you to see because I mean tougher. So one of my favorite new dies is this little teeny Polaroid. Let me show you. Look how teeny it is. It's a miniature. And I love to make it into a vellum shaker using vellum. And I love to make it into an acetate shaker. I know it's a teeny little thing. And this is fancy vellum. This is yellow vellum. Oh, you can barely see it. It's yellow vellum from my art store at my university. And it's a little bit pricey. So I don't like to waste it. Now for this, we're going to need a fine tip. We are going to need a fine tip. We don't need a long nose, but we do need a nice fine tip. Not the most needle one, but we are going to need a fine tip in order to get in because we don't want it to go over, right? And that's the nice thing about this. There are so many tips to choose from that no matter what, it's going to be fine. I'm going to have one in this because there's 12 to choose from. All right, so let's check it out and see what happens. Okay. I'm so excited because you know what? I've been testing these out on all different things, so I know that they work, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I should have shown you how it came out on the foam. I'm so excited to make my projects. I'm not showing you properly like I should be. All right, so let's do this again. This one's going to be a little finer, so it might be harder to see. Yeah, it's super fine. See? I don't know if you're going to be able to see it even. Can you see it? It's so fine. You might not even... Yeah, there it is. See that little mark? That's the fine line. That's how fine this gets. And this isn't even the super needle point. No. No, this is just the small one. Oh, these are unbelievable. I told you. I don't know how I lived without these before. So I used to be a really messy gluer. And I would deliberately like try to buy glue that was like invisible. Like that's why I liked art glitter glue so much, because I was a messy gluer. And then Crafty Michelle asked me to be part of Spooktacular Halloween, and I had so much mad respect for her as a maker that I decided that if I was going to join her collab, that I was going to have to work really, really hard at being a better crafter. Bingo! No overage. Thank you very much, fine tip. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's like a miracle. So anyway, I had mad respect for Crafty Michelle. So I was like, if you're going to do this, girly, you better stop being so messy. So I worked really hard at not being a messy maker. And then I didn't need to use art glitter glue anymore. I just needed to use like fast grabbing glues, or if I knew what I wanted to lay down. And I even got good enough that I could use Tombow Mono and all sorts of glues, even EC6000. And I would buy the bottles, but you know, they only had this size tip, like a tiny bit finer. None of this, you get to choose 12 of your own. This was a game changer. If I had had this 6-7 months ago, I would have been a much better crafter already. But I'm loving these, and I'm never living without them. It's just that simple. So I'm using the same tip again on the same Polaroid piece, because the last one turned out perfectly with no glue overages, so I know I've got the right size. And that's kind of how you know. Like, now I have kind of a hang of each one. You should test it out on something before you do it, so you kind of know what each tip does. And I'm attaching the very cute vellum piece. I have to trim off the edge, but this will be dry. This is very fast grabbing glue. It'll be dry like in 30 seconds, and I'll just trim it up. So that is the fine tip, not the needle point. Oh, there's one way finer. All right, so that worked. That's 2 down. Now, one of the challenges I have with this particular material when I'm working with it, when I'm making these fun ATC tags that I'm loving making, because I'm doing them, they're all hand drawn myself, and then I dress them up a little, is that I spray a special finish on top, because I'm doing this in my drawing markers. And once I put special coatings and finishes on them and sprays, if any dampness gets on them, they could leak everywhere and it would ruin the project. So I put a special art spray on top. The problem is, when I use that art spray, is it sometimes causes the tissue to lift up at the corners. Do you see that? So I have to leave it for a couple of days, and then I have to go back and I have to get in there. Well, I was having such a hard time doing that with these other bottles. Not these, the ones that you get on Amazon, because I didn't have a fine enough tip to get in there. I need a long nose for that. See, you need a long, narrow nose to get in there. Okay, well, luckily for me, I've got several to choose from. So this is the purple one, is the one I love for this kind of thing. It's very long and it's very small like a needle. It works beautifully for things like that. I'm going to show you. So we've done a butterfly, we've done 2 Polaroids, now we're going to fix an ATC. Okay, so this one's hard to see. Okay, let me show you again on the foam. This is going to be pretty narrow, so it's going to be hard for you to see again. It's going to make a very narrow line, kind of like even more narrow than the last one. So give it a minute. Sorry, I have to make sure the glue's at the bottom there. Give it a second, here it comes. Okay, it's really fine. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on my camera. Yep, you can. That's that tiny little line there. See how fine it gets? Oh yeah. So this is perfect because I'm going to show you why. I can actually stick this into where because it's a needle nose. Can you see that? It's a needle nose. I can actually just comfortably get right in there. It's unbelievable. Look at that. I just get right underneath there. And I can get all the way in, so I'm not just gluing the tips. Press it down. And I can see I need a little more glue right there, right at the edge. Again, because I've got this perfect size needle tip glue. Press it down. And voila, fixed. I'm in love. Look at this. I'm in love. How did I live without this before? Okay, if you're messy, and I know Dina, this Mama Loves Disney, says she was like me. She was a bit messy with gluing at first. If I had known that this existed, I'm telling you, this would have been the first thing that I told you all. I did the wrong thing as a new crafter. I bought loads of beautiful paper and not the right tools. This, for me, would have been such a game changer, especially when I was learning. Like, I didn't know what glues were going to react in what ways. This so would have helped me. And because they're color-coded, like now I know that I like the purples for some things, the pinks. There's 2 of each color, and they kind of have a similar relationship. And you kind of quickly learn, like, oh, the purple's good for this. Oh, the pink is good for this. And after you practice with it for a while, it gets really simple to know. All right, let's try something bigger now. You ready? because you already can see that it works perfectly, but I'm going to keep showing you. Oh my gosh, is Alicia making a box? Is Alicia making a box? Say it isn't so. Oh, it is. This is thanks to a little die cut from In Love Arts that I will be showcasing later this week. And if I can make this, anyone can make this. That's all I'm going to say. But it is hard to glue, meaning any box, you have to make sure you've got the right pressure and the right amount of glue, right? And this one, which has a doohickey that I love, that slides in to lock into the other piece. So gluing is actually very important. Well, for this one, I already know what color I like for this project because I've done it already. I like the forest green tip for this because I want a little more glue. So I want the Helmer's 450 for this one. And I'm just putting it on. So I want a nice, sturdy, strong flow for this. I need more glue for this than I've needed for anything else so far. This is going to make a thicker line. You're going to easily be able to see it. There you go. See? Let me see if I can. No, that one, you can't see it either so much in the light. Let me try it this way. Get ready. There you go. Right in the middle. Let me see if I bring this light in. There it is. There it is. Okay. So now you can see it. This is going to give me more glue. It's going to give me access into all the corners. And that's important because I want further spread, right? So this is like the perfect glue tip because it still lets me, because it has a longer nose, it still lets me get into the corners. So I want more glue, but I want to get into the corners. And even though this is fast grabbing, and it is fast grabbing, this, I'm a little bit anal. I still clip everything while I'm doing it. And I do one side at a time. And we'll come back to that and I'll finish it while we work on something else. All right, well, we've tried a few things already. Let's try more difficult glue to work with. Let's try that thick one. So we're going to attach, this is a Simple Stories picture frame, and we're going to make a tool shaker out of it. And we're going to use my old method, not the wraparound, where we're just going to attach it very carefully on the sides and the back, which means your gluing pretty much has to be perfect. All right, so what are we going to use for that? Well, I already know which tip. It's in the same family. The green tip for me works the best for this. So I'm going to switch over to my other glue tip. Ideally, you should clean the tips before switching glues, but for the purpose of this, we're going to go to the fabric glue now. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use this tip because it's one of my favorites for this, but you should clean your tips in between, and I will be cleaning all of these right after making this video. I do think that is important. You should maintain all your stuff. Like, you know, any of your good quality supplies, you should always maintain. All right, here we go. Sorry. I'm balancing that thing on my lap. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't show you what happened to this one. Well, this glue is a little funkier to work with. I'm going to tell you. It's super thick. And it was like kind of hard for me to even get into the bottle. And you're going to see how thick when I show you. See, that shows up right away. See how thick it is? Okay. So that's perfect because I need to cover all of this. So, but I want to do it in a not messy way, right? Like I want to do it. I've already used so much of the 450. I have to refill this bottle. That's how much I've been using these since I got them. I couldn't believe it. Once I tested it, I put all my glues right away into these. I was like, I am no longer using a regular glue bottle. Why would I? Why would I? Why would I if I have these? Why would I? Ooh, there's a glue string. That's the one thing about this Helmer's fabric glue. It does have strings like a glue gun. So make sure you always check it afterwards. Doesn't matter if you're using the tip or you're using the bottle. It's got strings. It's the downside. You know, Fabric Tac 3-in-1 doesn't have that, but Helmer's is a lot less expensive and it works just as well, and it's faster grabbing, and it's also crystal clear. So I really like it, but it does leave strings, so you do have to be really careful. All right, so now I've applied all the glue. And now this is very fast grabbing, so you have to be on your game when you lay down the tool. You can't make any mistakes when you do this because it grabs right away, and you won't have a chance to lift it and fix it. And there we go. That's it. And there you have it. Now I'll have to go back and trim it. I have to trim off the edges after it's set, but we're done. All right. Well, we know now it works on pretty much everything. Let's see how this held up. Oh yeah, look, perfect. Look at that. So I do want to wash mine out before I re-glue the other pieces to this purse, but you see, it got into the corners and it set perfectly. I do like 450 because it sets this fast. Look how fast this set to make this little purse. Look how fast. All using that tip. But let's try one more project just for the heck of it. Just so that you get a sense. I know that we've so far, I mean, look, we've done everything from teeny little vellum shakers to teeny acetate shakers, like the littlest acetate shakers, to a butterfly that held up just as well as my glue gun, to fixing this amazing ATC. Then we did a large tool shaker, and we built part of a purse. Well, you know what? I guess we could finish the purse. Why don't we do that? Or at least do the next side. Again, you should really clean the tips of these because I'm using the green tip that I love so much. I find this green tip for any larger project is my fave. It is by far my fave. So, all right. And then we'll test out the foam glue so you can see what that's like. Let me put my right thing on. Here we go. And there is a shorter version of this tip that also works well for boxes, but I like this longer version just because I find it really gets into the corners. So as you can see, when you're doing this, it's amazing. It just gets in there perfectly, and I can just be really precise. So not only now, like I'm going to say, not only is my gluing more precise, I think you've all noticed something. I've gotten much faster. And the reason, and I didn't understand it before, the reason I was slow is that to be precise, I had to be super, super slow and careful. Well, now I can build a box so much faster, guys. So much faster because I have these tips. So I didn't realize that before. I just didn't realize it. So what about the foam glue? Let's try that out with a different tip so you can see it. I'm going to use the mustard. The mustard is a nice wide short tip. It's really good for applying little dots of things. And I find like for the foam glue, I'm usually laying down a small shaker. And so I'll show you what this applies like so you can see. And this will show up because this is going to be white. So you're going to be able to see this a lot easier. So you see? All right. Oh, I got some on my finger too. Told you I'm a messy gluer. See? That's what that looks like. Okay, so let me see. Do I have a foam bit? I don't have a foam bit out, but I don't mind sacrificing the back of this mini. Well, I don't want to do it that way, but I know what I can do is let me cut a little piece of this off so you can see how this works. So I don't know about you, but for me to pay $6.79 for a set of bottles with 12 tips that make my life not just better, but like way more accurate. Oh my gosh. I'm going to say I don't know how I lived without these. I really don't. I'm not sure how I ever did. I'm just not sure. And there you have it. These are, in my opinion, a must-have craft tool. And I mean that for every expert, for every beginner, for people like me that are somewhere in the middle of the journey. I feel like crafting is like an art form, so it's a lifelong journey. I'm always going to be learning. I'm always going to be developing new skills. There's always going to be something I can learn from another crafter. There are things I can learn from new crafters, just like I can learn from expert crafters. We all have something to teach, and we all have something to share. What I can tell you is that I wish I had bought something like this when I first started crafting. It would have made me less lacking in confidence. I didn't realize that with tools like this, I could have become much more precise right away. Now, maybe it's not bad I learned the old-fashioned way, because now with these, it's like magic. It's like magic. But I'm not willing to live without these. Not at all. And certainly not for $6.79. I know this was a long video, but I felt like you had to see it for yourself to believe it. I don't know how I lived without these, but I did. I never want to again. So I want to say a big thank you to Beebeecraft for developing these. They are amazing. They really are amazing. They are a crafter's lifesaver, and I think a must-have craft tool for every crafter. Folks, again, they're $6.79 for all the bottles and 12 tips. I mean, I don't know how you can do any better than that. I'm putting the link down below, and that way you can just go directly to the site. I'll also put Beebeecraft's entire website down below in case there are other things you're interested in, and I will be back on later with some more project shares for Beebeecraft. Thank you so much again, Beebeecraft, for inviting me to test these out and to act as your designer. I'm so grateful to you. And these are a genius invention. All right, y'all. Happy Tuesday to you. Happy Tuesday.